at this moment in time. Good evening, everyone. Welcome along. We're just in conversation in the background. Good evening, everyone. Though, welcome along to WOR. We are here tonight for season number 14, and of course, is the console tier as we take, of course, round 4 of the championship, and it's the Belgian Grand Prix at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. My name is James Head. I'm going to be taking to the stream as your lead commentator tonight. Noel Gareth, of course, alongside me in the comment box. But we have the man, the myth, the absolute podcast goat at this stage. It is Mr. Ryan Jacobs. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm very, very good. Thank you very much. I'm excited for Spa here tonight. It's going to be a thrilling one. You know, Spa never disappoints. If you know, saw Monday's one, Jake Benham taking that victory. It was an exciting race to say the least. The strategies involved as well was quite interesting. That the possibility of rain here is quite common. So you never know. We could see some wild strategies here tonight.
We could indeed. We could indeed. It's going to be very interesting indeed. And as per last week, we are going to hot-footed straight towards qualified, it seems, because everyone's beginning to rally up on the left-hand side, which is very neat. What is very neat as well, Rusty still leads the championship, of course, after a hellish Azerbaijan Grand Prix last week. Of course, Rusty didn't take the win. It was Skyler who took the win. He's now on 39 points, of course, in second. But Rusty leading the way on 56 from Skyler in second on 39. Smokey there in third on 37. Sindari in fourth on 33. Sam McCabe in fifth on 30 with Sav in sixth on 27. Wilson seventh on 23. Fabi, best of the PS lot there in eighth on 16. Choco there in ninth, and then Legend rounding off the top 10. And Ryan, of course, you were missing last week. Rusty still leading the championship though by 17 points. I'm second guessing myself. 17 points in terms of the championship. Skyler though had a real show last week in Azerbaijan, and he's there now in second in the championship. So it should be quite interesting as we go to Belgium, which of course is a driver's favourite.
Exactly. You know, Cypher did a very good job at Azerbaijan after, you know, I missed it unfortunately, but I did catch up on it, and he took his chance, you know, after that incident with Smokey and Rusty. You've got to be there to pick up the pieces, and he was able to do that brilliantly, you know, take it home, and that's a big boost for his championship hopes. You know, I know Cypher definitely will be aiming for this championship, and to put that pressure on Rusty is certainly a key thing for him. And I wonder if they'll be able, you know, Smokey, Cindery, McCabe, all will now be able to apply that pressure to Rusty. And will Rusty be able to handle it? Because so far, until Azerbaijan, he's not had that element of pressure from anybody really challenging for this title. You know, he won the first 2 rounds, remember, and he was looking so dominant. So now let's see. It'll be interesting to see if he can react to this little, like, setback from Azerbaijan, and will he be able to bounce back here at Spa?
Well, we'll have to find out, of course. And, of course, speaking of Spa, 7 kilometres in length, 4.3 mile, 19 turns away to now drivers out on track. Looks a bit like a dinosaur, but trust me, it is not. It really is not. It's one of the most historic circuits, of course, on the F1 calendar, and with 7 kilometres of length, as I say, and of course the 2 DRS zones, one down the start finish straight in towards the La Source hairpin at turn number 1, a very short run down in towards turn number 1, and then one up the hill slightly in toward Lake Como as well, should prove to be a lot of overtaking potentially out on track, which I'm hoping we will get to see a lot of tonight as we come into, of course, console. JB Bro, by the way, there in the comment section, before I pass back over to you, Ryan, they're saying, is this PS5 and Xbox mixed? Yes, it is. PS4 even involved in this as well. PS4, PS5 and Xbox all involved. This is the top tier of console, and we can bring you, of course, live on track action. But the track, of course, Ryan, it is a driver's favourite. It should be promoting a lot of overtaking. Hopefully a lot of DRS trains as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many places for these drivers to make moves as well. You know, you've obviously got the top of Eau Rouge as well. When everybody, you know, eventually gets that slipstream after turn 1, it's such a big battle, obviously, up the hill. And I wonder as well, will we see some tactics coming into qualifying? You know, I feel like it's always better to be the second driver rather to be the one leading around here, because, you know, you can save that battery and really just apply the pressure to the guy out in front, because, you know, that force them to use that ERS. And, you know, that's what we, again, I'll relate it back to that one on Monday. Jake did that to Otis Lawrence, and he was able to pull away by the end. He took him on the penultimate lap and pulled around 7/10, and he was safe on that final lap from any kind of attack. I wonder if we'll see any kind of tactics around here tonight. But again, these drivers definitely going to be looking to make some big inroads. I know a few drivers definitely be looking to score some big points on the board again, especially one man who got taken out last week, Wilson. let's not forget about that. There's the two Red Bulls had an absolute nightmare at Azerbaijan last week, so they'll be the two to watch here tonight, in my opinion, since they, had that misfortune at turn 1.
Yeah, definitely. So Rusty then in the championship leader on the run down into the Lake Colm through the first sector split, 29.6, exactly where you want to expect a lap around here in Belgium. Now coming out of the Lake Colm chicane on the run down out of Malmedy in towards Bruxelles, of course, famously named after the capital of Belgium, of course, if nobody knew that. Coming through the left-hander of Jackie X Corner, or X Corner to give it its full name, used to be called No Name, and now we're halfway through the lap at this point on the run down into the fearsome Puon. Of course, you can't take a flat out as per previous F1 games. Rusty backing out the throttle in a very high 7th gear, now down into the advantage chicane at 197 mile an hour on exit into the corner. Beautifully done from Rusty, running the curve very neatly indeed, and the Hassman now coming through the right-hander of turn number 14 at Cambus, now through turn 15 at Stavolo. And a 114.2 in the middle sector is not too shabby at all from the Xbox man, the championship leader at this stage. Currently going to be out on top. He is the first man out on track as well. There's an Alfa Romeo in behind him on track as well. But Rusty now coming through Blanchimont on the run down into the bus stop chicane has had many variations in its lifetime. This one, however, has been known since the early 2000s as Rusty now come through the left-hander of the final couple of corners on the run to the line out of the bus stop chicane and on the run to the line. And that is already quick. A 42.2 to start off the night. And that might even be classed as potentially one of the lap times to beat already, as Nick goes second, 42.3. But Rusty out on top, only 400ths of a second. There's going to be plenty of improvements to come.
Yeah, it's a very promising banker from Rusty. I've noticed so far this season, he's been able to nail the first lap every single time. He's always been able to put that prominent lap time. We saw it at Kota in the opening few rounds, and where he just had to deliver that one lap, and he absolutely nailed it. And no, it wasn't Kota. It was the first round where it was Brazil, sorry, and that's where he absolutely nailed that one lap. And once again, he's showing that promise. But Rowan going to the top step already now. The McLaren looking to make a name for himself here with a very good banker lap time, and all the lap times, all the drivers' times have come across the line now. And so far, it's looking quite interesting. There's quite a bit of a mix, but VSRX in 5th place there for the Ferrari. He'll be quite happy with that one so far.
Yeah, definitely. So Wilson now goes to the top, however, with a 42.2. Of course, it was a Red Bull 1-2 in qualifying in the sprint race, before the sprint race, of course, happened last week. Wilson and his teammate, of course, Sav, were out on top in that qualifying session. Remained to be seen whether they forgave each other from last week as a result of their collision in towards turn number 1. That controversial moment just kicked off a whole hell of moments last week, of course, in Azerbaijan. But Wilson out on top from Rowan there in second. Rusty there currently in third. Look at how close the top 4 are. They're covered by 800ths of a second, which normally, if you're asking me from PS perspective, normally top 4 would be covered by about 0.2 per second around here. So quick, and this just really highlights, I think, as Lars Kramer goes 5th there into with a 142.4. This just highlights, I think, the closeness of the Xbox guys. Crossplay is probably the best invention since sliced bread, and therefore we've got very close racing between the Xbox guys and the PS guys, which last year, and even on previous versions of the game, we didn't actually have.
Exactly. I think, the more off it, the better. I find it brilliant to see, the PS guys come against the Xbox guys and vice versa. I think it's just brilliant to see, finally, people have been crying out for it. And, we always say, which platform's better, PS or Xbox? You get to now see these drivers just race each other. You don't have to have these debates anymore. You can just see who's the best driver on console. And we'll finally getting the answer to it. And it's really interesting to see the mix in drivers as well. Wilson setting a very good lap time, but only just beating Rowan. I'm on board now with the man who won last week, Cypher, coming through the final sector now. The Aston Martin looking to get onto the top step of this podium once again and see if he can get onto provisional pole position. Through the final corner he goes, a bit wobbly on the exit. That's going to cost him some lap time, but up to the line now, only enough for P8 for Cypher.
Yeah, not a bad lap there at all from the Aston Martin, of course. As lap times will improve, and of course as the track evolves as well, that should mean Skyler is going to go toward the top end of the field, you would imagine. Lars Kramer, by the way, there in 5th. I know him pretty well. He has obviously caused a lot of controversy on the PS side, so I'm not going to bring that controversy up whatsoever. But the TF man now there in 5th, He is in, as I believe, reserve tonight, if I'm not mistaken. He's there in fifth. Smokey there in sixth as well. Once, as I said to you just before we came live, he was once thought of as the second Otis Lawrence, the reborn Otis Lawrence. However, there in sixth, hasn't had the desired start so far this season. On the Xbox side, certainly, he is there down in sixth position with Axie in seventh, the Sky there, as you mentioned. In eighth, there's Markados now, PSGL F1 man, on the run down in toward the right hand of Bruxelles, in toward the middle sector, and he is favoured potentially as an outside contender for pole position. And the TF10 man has been very, very good. I remember commentating on him in PSF3 of PSGL, and that was, what, 2 seasons ago. And Markados has absolutely blown up the scene on the PS platform. He's done such a phenomenal job. Hopefully, he's not going to eat my own words, and hopefully he's actually going to go for a pretty good run on this lap coming to the Fania chicane.
Yeah, it's great to see these drivers, you know, develop across the games and across the seasons of PSGL and WOR respectively. It's always great to see, and you're just seeing the way he attacks these corners and attacks the curves. It's brilliant to see. He's absolutely nailing that middle sector, so it'll be interesting to see where he'll be able to come out so far in this qualifying. Obviously come out a bit later, so the track's going to be a bit vamped up compared to the likes of when Rusty, Rowan and Wilson all set their lap times. This is looking good from the TF10 driver now. Coming through the final chicane, up to line now. Let's see where the Alpine can go. And it's up into pole. Provisional pole. That's a very, very good lap time. A 1:42.055, 2/10 clear of Wilson.
And that is a statement lap, I think, for Markados. I never knew he had that in the bank, to be honest. That was a fantastic lap from him. Rusty is invalidated, I think, on this and next lap. He's just coming to the line. In fact, he's just going on to run down in towards turn 1. Nick also down in towards turn 1. Miles Kramer also down in towards turn number 1. In fact, no, he's coming to the bus stop chicane. Stonks on preparing up for a lap as well. Sindari preparing up for a lap. Jensen, season 12 champion, also preparing up for a lap. I think Sam McCabe, however, is the furthest on a run at this stage. 29.7 in the first sector. It's already there or thereabouts as compared to Rusty with that 29.6. So Sam McCabe, of course, had a real highlight, I've got to say, last week. Of course, on the podium, finished, I think, in third last week in Azerbaijan. He had a real good race, and hopefully he can continue that form into tonight in Belgium. And so far, not looking too bad. As soon as I say that, he invalidates.
Yeah, such a little mistake there from McCabe. Just gone to the curb a little bit too much, unsettled the car, and he just had to wrestle it. And unfortunately, that's a big invalidation for the Alfa Romeo. You know, he's not a very good qualifier, but when it comes to the race, as we saw at Azerbaijan, he seems to turn it up another level. And it'll be interesting to see if he can just get a lap on the board, because, you know, once you invalidate 1 or 2 runs, the pressure starts to build, and I wonder, you know, if Levi, Tom can all handle this pressure, you know now, because they're really starting to struggle, and Tom's again going for another run, himself up as well.
And Rusty is huge in the middle sector, 13.9 in the middle sector from Rusty. He's a 10th quicker than Markados, only slightly though quicker than Markados in that middle sector. Now coming to the bus stop chicane, car getting off the way to the right hand side. I think that's an Alpine, has now come up into the bus stop chicane. Is this the statement lap from Rusty? Is this now going to put Markados maybe in the wash? Coming to the final corner, gets caught on the inside curb on the run line. I think it's still good enough. It's not, it's 42.1 and it's only second position, and he's a 10th off Markados at this stage. Rowan on a good lap at this stage as well, 29.7 coming into the Fania chicane. I think Nick is invalidated on a run as well. Jensen, season 12 champion from the PS platform, he goes into 6th. Sindari actually backs him up and goes 6th himself. So very interchangeable. Rowan, 14 flat in the middle sector. Not a great middle sector from Rowan, but he is improving.
Yeah, that final chicane seems to be the biggest nightmare for a lot of the drivers. You know, we've seen it a few times now in this qualifying session. Drivers getting caught on that inside curb, and it's just unsettling their car dramatically. And I wonder if Rowan might have got caught up in that inside curb, and there could be time in this final corner. Seems to me there's a lot better this time around. Coming up to line now, what can Rowan do? It's enough for P3, a little improvement, just over a 10th. But look, you'd be happy with that one getting in front of Wilson.
And he'd be hoping that Wilson doesn't improve. He's 4,000s down to the first sector, coming to the Fania chicane now into the middle sector, now in towards Campos at the right-hander. And it's not looking too bad in this middle sector. 14 flat is actually only off Rusty's middle sector, I think, by what? thousandths of a second, probably about 200ths of a second he's off him at this stage. As Wilson now comes in towards launching on the fastest part on the track. I think Black Box there goes 6th. He did take the win, of course, last night in a league that I commentated on in TML. He there is in 6th. He's got form coming into tonight as well. Wilson now coming to the final corners as Sav goes 4th, his teammate. Wilson looks to better that on the run to the line. He does go 4th in the end, 2,000th of a second off Rowan. 100th of a second off Rusty. My oh my, it is so tight. Mark knows out on top. Rusty 2nd. Rowan there in 3rd. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else on the lap at this stage. And actually was, you did invalidate though, I think, coming through the final couple of corners. I don't think anybody's on the lap apart from Shazoo Tom, who's actually down in 13th at this stage. He's actually not on a run.
Bit surprised to see Tom so far down. Jensen as well. The two Williams seem to struggle here at Spa at this moment in time. Fabi as well in P11. Good group of drivers right there. And Lars as well in P14. Interesting to see though as well. Cypher, he's just coming into the wall. That was a mistake and a half on an in-lap as well. He's not even pushing. That's an unlikely mistake from Cypher. And you also seen the AlphaTauri in front of him going around there. What is going on through that middle sector? I'm not too sure, but both drivers having a bit of a mistake there.
Yeah, really, such a shame, because I was on board with Ferrari. He was up in the middle sector just before he actually got to the Fania chicane. I couldn't even get my words out. Through the Fania chicane, Skyler made a mistake ahead of him, and I think both of them have then caught the inside curb. And both spun around an individual instance, so therefore, Ferrari, who's not on a Ferrari, by the way, he's in the AlphaTauri tonight, he's down there in 18th position, and of course, Skyler there down in 15th, 42.6. Of course, improvements are going to come, but we're getting to the nitty-gritty of this qualifying session. I think we've only got about 5 minutes left. Yeah, 4 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock. Marco's out on top, Rusty in 2nd, Rowan in 3rd. If improvements are going to come, improvements are going to come quick. However, though, I'm spying above the track. It's coming over quite cloudy, though.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see some rain towards the end of this qualifying. It's looking probably a bit likely, you know, and it might force these drivers to come out very, very quickly. Wilson and Sav all on their way to returning to the pit, and I think they'll be wanting to get out as fast as they can here, because if the rain's on its way, you don't want to be that last driver out on the track. You want to be, you know, the first one out the track before the rain hits, because you'll be in trouble. And once there's even a single drop of rain, we've seen how the effects of that that can have on the drivers, and you know their lap times dramatically increase. Sorry, because you know it's not easy to get on the power when it starts to rain, especially when you're on slick. So let's see, will the rain come?
Yeah, I don't think the rain's going to come before the end of the session. There might be a few drops, if so, right at the end of the session, but I don't think it's actually going to impede, potentially, on the racing that we've got. Either that, or it's me and my eyesight and it just needs testing. Jensen, down in towards Lake Holm, is the first man out on track, and he is looking to try and get a bit of retribution around here. The social race that we did, of course, for Season 13 at the start of the game, he actually spun coming out the pit lane, believe it or not, in the first social race. So Jensen has came a long way around here in Belgium to not spin out the pit lane. He is coming through now, Jackie X corner. It is getting very cloudy though over the circuit, and Jensen is the first out on track. But look at everyone now filtering out the pit lane. 2.5 minutes ago. This is game time basically for everyone else. This is literally like in the fourth end of a hockey match. And now everyone has got to go for the same piece of track. There might be a few collisions along the way. There might be a bit of traffic. But Jensen is, 30 seconds, I think, ahead of everyone else. So therefore, he has got first blood, potentially, in terms of this lap.
Yeah, I rate that from Jensen as well. You know, it's smart to be the first man on the track. But again, you get the least track evolutionized track at that point in time. But, you know, you don't want to risk drivers being in your way, you know, and you want to have enough time to get your tyres into the right window, and you want to be settled. And this is what Jensen's doing superbly. Just got it confirmed by Crispy in the chat that there will be no rain in both sessions for this race and qualifying. It's interesting to see he's gone this early, but I guess it's just to avoid the traffic and any possible interference from anybody else around him. And you know, I rate that and understand that completely from Jensen, just so you don't have any of those distractions in front of you.
Choco, by the way, in the chat saying, what's everyone saying, fam? I'm saying Jensen's down in towards turn number 1 at the source, in towards on his lap. And this is game time now for Jensen. He needs to get this lap time on the board. We'll keep the timing tower up on the left-hand side just to be sure of where everyone is on track. as we now come through Rouge, and then that's Radion actually at the top of the hill through turn number 3, through the right hander of the Kemmel corner at turn number 4, and then down, of course, the Kemmel straight Dutch corner on the left hand side. Not that Jensen actually cares. On the run towards the first sector, 29.72 hundredths down in the first sector, so not looking too bad at all. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the likes of Marcos and the likes of Rusty and Rowan, but normally from a PS perspective, we normally see not many improvements towards the back end of this session. This might be the exception rather than the rule. We didn't see many improvements in the second runs, so therefore we are going to see potentially a whole load of improvements up and down the field. And Jensen is, of course, going to be the first one who, of course, is going to try and get this lap time on the board. Coming now through Pouon, looking very, very slick indeed. The Williams now coming through Pouon on the run down in towards the Fanny chicane. And so far, so good from Jensen. He might have come a little bit too much. He has got low fuel, obviously indicating that he is on this very quick run. And Jensen through the middle sector split. Where is he in comparison to the top guys? 14.2, and he's in comparison indeed because he's invalidated as well.
Yeah, it's a mistake and a half from Jensen. He'll be kicking himself at that, down to P12, and everybody else on track looking to improve. Where will Jensen really end up is the question.
Rusty, huge middle sector, 13.8 this time. He's a tenth and a half up, and the championship leader is looking to put it on pole position. Sorry to cut you off there, Ryan, but my God almighty, that was a good middle sector from Rusty as he now comes in towards the final couple of corners of the bus stop chicane. Got to get it literally hooked up on the brakes. Jensen's back in the pit lane. He's not going to be improving. Rusty now through the final corner on a huge lap from Rusty to the line. Goes quickest with a 41.8. Marcos is 400ths down out of the first sector. Rowan as well, I think, is down to the first sector. So Marcos now is going to be one of the next ups, and Derry went 6th ahead of Smokey. Good lap time from him, and Marcos is not improving because he's spun, overrotated the car at the Fanny chicane.
Yeah, it's a big mistake from the Alpine. On board with Wilson now. He's looking to steal this pole position away from Rusty. Not sure on the first sector, but let's see. Through this middle sector, it's not been too tidy from Wilson. And yes, he's not improving. So maybe is it on his teammate? No, Sam also invalidating. So it's looking likely for Rusty pole. And what a pole position this will be for Rusty. And Smokey goes up into P3. What a lap time that is from the Mercedes. Out of nowhere, he's been struggling all qualifying. And now the Mercedes man is onto the podium position.
Yeah, RKO out of nowhere, I think, from Smokey. Rowan, though, goes second, 41.9. Huge lap there from him. Wilson now to the line. Actually improves a tenth of a second out of all of that. 42 flat. He was 200ths down out the middle sector. Huge middle sector, though, from Wilson. Sav as well is coming to the line. He doesn't actually improve onto a lap. A Black Box to the line is improving. On the run to the line, he goes 7th. Good lap time from Black Box, of course. 42.1 out on track. Axie as well is invalidated. That, my friends, is the end of a manic qualifying session. And there's Rusty with a game-changing lap out on top from Rowan there in 2nd, Wilson in 3rd, Marcos in 4th. Who said Xbox and PlayStation weren't that boring after all?
Exactly, that's a very good end to qualifying. What a bunch of lap times we just saw at the end. Rusty with an impressive lap time up from 141.869. And then Rowan replied quite impressively as well, goes up into P2. The only 2 drivers to get into the 1 minute 41s, so that was quite interesting to see from those 2. But what a qualifying that was.
And it just comes to show who the sweatiest was, I think, in practice coming into tonight as well. But it is Rusty out on top of the 141.8, Rowan there in 2nd, a 41.9, a tenth of a second off in the end. And the top 4 actually are covered by 2/10 of a second, with Wilson in 3rd, Marcos in 4th. They start on the 2nd row of the grid. Smokey there in 5th, with Sav there in 6th. Black Box there in 7th. Watch out for him in the race. He's normally quite quick around here. Sinderi there in 8th. Tom hopefully gets his look there in 9th position. Fabi there rounding off the top 10. 5 drivers out of Xbox, 5 drivers out of PlayStation in the top 10 as well. Nick, Axie, Lars, Jensen and Sky the top 15. Then Dessel, Stonks, Levi, Ferrari, and then Sam McCabe didn't actually get a lap time in. Right down there at back of the field. Very good racing, of course, out on track. We are going to go for a slight intermission break. Hopefully it's going to be well timed. We'll be back with you in 50 seconds. Let's help us out with the right thing. Oh, there we are.
It's good qualifying. Yeah, Rusty answered me back very, very quickly.
Welcome back, everyone, to WOR. We are here tonight for, of course, season number 14. It is round number 4 of the championship. It is the Belgian Grand Prix. And Ryan, with only 30 seconds to go, of course, out of the qualifying, now going straight into the race. What's your expectations here for Belgium?
It's going to be another. I think Rusty's going to hit back again. I think Rusty's made a statement in that qualifying. He set a brilliant lap time, got it on pole, and I think he's going to win this race here tonight.
We'll have to wait and see. And Rusty, of course, looking to try and make amends for last week, of course, catching up in those late collisions in Azerbaijan, hopefully to put that to one side. And of course, he's got Marquez and Rowan alongside him as well, up towards the top end of the field. Rowan, of course, immediately alongside him. 5 red lights now going out here in Belgium. Round number 4 of the championship. And it's lights out, away we go, and Rusty gets a very good start. Rowan, though, I think is better off the line, and he actually might get the run in towards turn 1, down in towards the source. And in the end, Wilson actually tries to derb it down the inside line as well in the Red Bull, but Rusty leads the way out of turn 1. Everyone is clean through in the background, which is good. Rusty, though, on the lead down in towards Rouge and Radion. Smokey's going side by side with Marquez in towards Rouge and Radion. Just about pulls out before the corner, and now Rusty and Rowan could have run maybe side by side up the hill, down the Kemmel straight. Marquez are certainly running side by side with Wilson in the background. There's 3 wide in the background at the back end of the shot. Sam McCabe has already made good position, trying to go all the way around the outside as Marquez in the end doesn't get the job done, but Rusty there leads the way. Rowan in second, Wilson in third, Marquez in fourth, chopping and changing further down the field. Oof. Tom is being caught up in a collision. I think Axie and Lars are being caught up in a collision as well. Mid-back carnage further down the field, but Rusty leads the way. Rowan in second, Wilson third, top end of the field, absolutely perfect. Bottom end of the field coming out of Malmedy, not so great. Jensen, championship leader, former championship leader and former champion in WR, spun as well.
Yeah, wow, what a chaotic start that was. Jensen spinning there. I could not believe my eyes. What just went on for that midfield and towards the end of the field there? There's so many incidents and so many drivers are going 3 wide. I couldn't believe my eyes into turn 5, 6 and 7. That's when it all started to kick off. It all turned into a car park in terms of how slow everybody was going. Like, they were just stuck on, like, I don't know, mud. They were not going anywhere, and it was so surprising to see. But so many incidents involved. But McCabe Sam is absolutely flying up into P13, and now Tom getting past Nick as well. It's all starting to kick off now. It's only in phase of the race, but from P9 there's already a gap of 2 seconds to Cindery.
It is indeed. Oh, as Sam McCabe tries to go around the outside of Desso. This would be brilliant, and he gets the job done. Absolutely remarkable from Sam McCabe. This man is a man on a mission at this stage. He's there into 10th position, round the outside of the bus stop chicane. All 10s for effort there. Beautiful stuff by McCabe Sam, and he's through and he's into 10. Tom there, as you mentioned, into 9. And he has now got the big split because Nick came in the pit lane, Stunks in the pits, Axie and Fabi all in the pit lane. Everyone got caught up in a collision. Lars is actually still going out on track. May have a little bit of underlying damage. But down the straight now, once again, into Lake Holm. Rusty leads the way from Rowan in second and Wilson in third. And the big thing actually was at the end of that first lap, Rusty trying to get away outside of a second from Rowan. It was around 7-8 tenths per second coming through Blanchimont, and now the gap all of a sudden is 5 tenths per second. So Rowan has had to use up that little bit of battery. He's on lower fuel as well, and that means he's got more to play with and to try and put Rusty under pressure. And speaking of under pressure, Smokey's putting Marquez under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, 2 tenths is the gap between Marquez and Smokey, so it's interesting to see. Smokey really is applying that pressure to the Alpine, but the Alpine seem to handle it quite well. You know, he's only 4 tenths behind Wilson, so he's comfortable at this moment in time. I don't see, you know, Smokey making a move unless he gets a very, very good exit of turn 15. That'll be a key point, because once this DRS gets enabled, that is when moves will become a lot less harder. The likes of Smokey, Marketov and Wilson, who are all in this train, fighting for this lead, because you never want to be that 3rd, 4th or 5th man in a train, because you can never ever make a move, it seems like. And now as well, Tom has done a fantastic job, by the way, to close down to Cindery. 2 seconds was the gap. He's got it down to 1.1.
1.1, and he's just outside of DRS range as well. Levi's looking to the outside line of Desso in toward the bus stop. Doesn't get quite the job done through there. The McLaren still holds on from the Haas, but the Haas man is all under pressure. The McLaren man is all under pressure from the Haas in behind on the run down and towards turn number 1 once again. But Rusty there leads the way. Rowan there in second. Rusty had a bit of a snap, I think, coming out of turn number 1. Rowan's on the ERS already, running up the hill now through Rouge and Radion, and this might be actually a move for the race lead, potentially with Rowan on the back of Rusty. Rusty is trying to escape up the road. The DRS has enabled 215 mile an hour on the run down into Lake Holm. Pulls the inside line, in the end fakes it, and Rusty, in the end, holds on to the lead of the race from Rowan there in second. Wilson third, but they have now got Wilson outside of a second. Black Box, I think, has just moved ahead of Sav, so he's doing his into P6 there as well on the battle down in toward Lake Holm. But Rusty there leads the way, Rowan in second, Wilson in third, and already Rowan trying to put Rusty under pressure. He did snap under pressure last week in Azerbaijan. So far, he's holding pressure pretty good.
He's got to be careful as well not to lose the DRS. He got very close to losing it. He's done a good job through this middle sector though to claw back that time. He's just on that bubble of that 1 second area, and he just got into that DRS, and that's so crucial for him and the rest of the people behind him who could still win this race yet. Long way to go, obviously. We're only on lap 3 of 22, but still losing DRS so early with these two having the pace they have at this moment in time. You can't afford them to slip out that DRS, because they will just fly away at this moment in time. But again, Shizu Tom has now got into the DRS, and what a job he's done. He's now massively helped out him and McCabe Sam, and McCabe is struggling on the battery, but what a performance that has been from the Alfa Romeo. To go from 20th on the grid to 10th in 1 lap, you've got to give credit to that.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think it was in 16th coming at the top of the hill through Rouge and Radion. So that just speaks volumes as to the amount of start that he's actually had out on track. A phenomenal start from McCabe Sam. We'll have a look at position gains actually up and down the field. And there, 10 positions gained for McCabe Sam, 7 gained for Levi. So he's actually trying to compete with McCabe Sam for about as much position overtakes as possible on this race so far. Ferrari's gained 5, Desso's gained 4, Skyler's gained 2, also gaining 1 as Black Box, and he actually, Smokey, might look to gain 1 up the straight potentially in toward Lake Holm. In the end, not quite close enough to the back of Marcos. But Marcos, again, he was the one that I mentioned to Gareth, was the one to watch out for in Azerbaijan last week. And again, his setup seems absolutely... Oh, and I've absolutely ruined that because he's just spun coming out of Malmedy. I was about to say he has got an absolutely brilliant setup on the car, and he's in the wall. He spins again, over rotation of the car. That is what, my friends, in the business you call a commentator's curse. And Marcos, unfortunately, down there in 15th position. Just when I was about to say he looked like he had a good setup on. Now he doesn't.
Yeah, he just got on the power too early. He's kicked himself with that mistake, getting on the power that little bit too soon, and now he's ended up in the wall and he's got no front wing. But he was having a great race up until that point. In P4, he was looking comfortable. He was in that flow, and then he just got and made that mistake. Obviously, getting too eager on the power to close up to Wilson, and now Smokey's got a bit of a task here to close up to the back of Wilson now. 8 tenths is the gap between those two, but you really want to be in around that 6th, 10th area where you can feel comfortable, where you don't have to use that ARS. And now Smokey is having to use some of that battery to close up to the back of the Red Bull and feel that a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely so. And Sindari on the back of Saab there for 6th and 7th position. That might just go in all-time WOR records as the worst commentator's curse in history, potentially, in terms of that. Couldn't be any more worstly planned, I think that was. But Rusty there leads the way from Rowan there in second, Wilson in third. But we are on board with Sindari on the back of Saab. Saab, of course, getting on with things again. Now beginning to build over the circuit once again as well, even though we've been told in the comments, certainly, even though I don't trust the comments about the weather or not, we are going to have rain in the race. And so far, it doesn't look like the case. It's Sindari on the back of Saab, running down the straight. It's not going to be quite close enough, but I think Ferrari might be on the back of Desso and the McLaren, and I mean that because Ferrari is in an AlphaTauri, which is very confusing, and Desso there is in a McLaren, which is not at all confusing, as we are still running in line of stern down into that part of the track. Marcos, though, into the pit lane, he's going to be coming out right dead in last position. He'll be hoping for, I think, a safety car at least in this race. Rusty there leading the way, Rowan in second, and again, Rusty just beginning to weather the storm once again. Rowan is within 0.4 of a second of him, and 52% of ERS that they've both got coming through P1. And I think if I was in Rowan's shoes, certainly from a PS side, I'd be trying to just feather the throttle, coming into the corners, lift and coast going into the braking zones, gaining that extra 5 or 10% ERS that he can, of course, use for attack. And that is something that I've seen very commonly on the F1 game in recent weeks.
Definitely, and it seemed like he really just wants to keep applying this pressure to Rusty at this moment in time. He doesn't want to let him rest, which is quite interesting because, you know, like you said, a lot of these drivers do tend to just lift and coast, save that battery as much as they can. But maybe Rowan doesn't feel comfortable to let Rusty rest. You know, he really wants to just make him think that he's going to keep going for this move. You know, they're both on the exact same ERS, so it tells you the story on that part that they're both pushing exactly the same, and it's quite interesting to see how equally matched these two are around here, because they're clear of the rest of the field behind them. Wilson hasn't been able to get under 7 tenths since the start of this race. These two have really been on fire, and it's just a battle, I think, between these two for this race victory. But maybe I'm going to commentate curse both of them, just like you have early on in this race. Maybe they could just go horribly wrong for the pair of them.
I hope not. I hope not. I really want to see a really good battle between these two, but I think Rowan on the back of Rusty is going to look quite interesting. He's obviously not going to go for a move. It's the typical F1 esports lines that he takes through here as well. Basically, he doesn't want to attack his opponent too early. Otherwise, he's going to be in a whole heap of trouble. Speaking of whole heap of trouble, Blackbox is now outside of a second in the middle of this train. Tom has lost the time as well, 1.8 seconds now the gap to Sinderi, so I'm assuming he's gone very aggressive on those hard compound tyres, and now they're beginning to just fall off slightly. But Rowan visibly looks quicker than Rusty down the straight. Through the corners though, Rusty has got it absolutely hooked up to perfection in that pass, and so far that is what has seen him out in front. But Rowan doesn't want to attack him too early. He is now running, of course, low on fuel. He did have that fuel light on. Now he's saved up enough fuel to try and attack. Rowan though, and because you've obviously been what was I going to say? I've just lost my train of thinking. You were, of course, F1 Esports Challengers, if I'm not mistaken, or practicing at least for F1 Esports Challengers in recent days. What would you do in Rowan's shoes right now? Would you attack the opponent too early in Rusty, or would you just wait until the pit stops and then attack it?
Definitely, I think what I would do is just sit behind Rusty at this moment in time and just save the battery, and that's not what he's doing, which is quite interesting. And then maybe when it's my pit window, I decide to go for the attack, then use some of the battery and try and pull away, and you know, do an undercut possibly, and then you know, use my tyres to my advantage towards the end, or do an overcut. There's all these different strategy routes that both Rusty and Rowan can take. But if I was Rowan, I'd definitely be looking to save my battery and probably do an overcut on Rusty. Save the tyres now and save the RS, then go on the attack when it's my pit window, so that then I can have the best tyres and be in the best position coming towards the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely. So good drivers think alike as well. Me, ex-former driver, Ryan, ex-former driver as well, both in the commentary box. I think where we belong, because I think we'd be missing at least strategies if we were in these guys' shoes. Sinderi, though, again on the back of Sav was looking quite close. Blackbox is just teetering on the brink again of that 1 second. He's just within a second now, but he has used up a lot of ERS as the cloud now begins to build once again over the circuit. Normally ominous signs, hopefully not ominous signs. We are due for a dry race around here, but Rusty leads the way from Rowan in second, Wilson there in third, Smokey there in fourth. McCabe Sam, though, was just trying to creep back into contention there down in ninth. I saw Alex Dago, I think it was, in the chat saying it was a Sammy McCabe Masterclass. Yes, indeed. Sammy McCabe Masterclass plus 20, I think, at this point, because he's gained 11 positions off the race start. He's got Levi, who was a very fair driver in his day as well, running behind. And actually, Levi's now beginning to attack McCabe Sam. So Sam really has to try and up his game. He has got less ERS than him, as Jensen is out coming through Campos. That might be a safety car, and judging by where it is, I think it's actually not going to be a safety car. Left-hand side on the exit, right-hand side on the exit, in fact. I don't think that's going to cause for a safety car. There's certainly no calls for it just yet. And now we get a VSC, or was it a safety car? It's a safety car.
Safety car. Yeah, I'm not surprised it is. It's definitely the car is in a dangerous position, but this is going to be interesting now. The guys all on the mediums who have had to pit, they get that opportunity now to once again pit for a fresh set of tyres and make it to the end. So their race has been saved, but I wonder now, what will Rusty and Rowan do? They've got to pit here. If they do not, they'll be massively losing out. But the McCabe Sam, Cypher, Dezo, Ferrari, Lars, all pitting under that safety car opportunity, and they have massively gained from that.
They have really gained from that, and Rusty, Rowan, Wilson, the top three, and in fact everyone who stayed out in a set of hard, is probably thinking, why didn't the coding in the game just bring it 30 seconds earlier? Because we would have made it into the pit lane and we would have been on the same calls as everyone else in behind. McCabe Sam potentially could undercut every single person in the whole field right now, and he could potentially lead this race, and I'm not even kidding, he could potentially lead this race underneath the safety car once the pit stops actually happen in front, which I'm assuming they're going to be forced into, because the whole compound tyres are going to get to around lap 15, lap 16, so they could actually all stay out there and then go visibly on their tyres. But McCabe Sam's going to be so quick behind. Is he going to make up the ground? This is going to have to be a decision, I think, taken from the front, and then everyone else has to filter through.
Yeah, exactly. And McCabe Sam, he's getting very, very lucky this race by the looks of things. And I wonder when his luck will run out. But what a race he's having. He's had the perfect race so far. A shocking qualifying, but everything seems to be going his way in this race. Perfect opportunity, the first guy to be able to pit, and now he's got an opportunity to potentially be in a very, very good position to win this race. All the guys are going to certainly be pitting this lap. If not, they'll be looking very, very vulnerable and definitely will not have any chance of winning this race unless another safety penalty comes out. So there we go, Rusty in. Everybody who is yet to pit has come in. Sav is trying to back up Cindery here. Really smart decision that from the Red Bull, just so that he doesn't double stack with Wilson. But unfortunately for him, he's so close that I think, yep, he will get held up here. But let's keep a close eye on where McCabe Sam comes out compared to everybody else.
I don't think it's going to be anywhere near, to be honest, as they now come toward the exit of the pit lane. He's been held up, I think, by the Delta time in that car. So therefore, he's going to be behind, potentially Levi. He's going to gain a couple of positions. He's not going to gain that many, though, I don't think. He's only going to be, what, 6th, 7th, 8th position potentially coming out. And he's going to get 7th, or 8th position, actually, coming out the pit lane. So McCabe Sam has gained 2 positions on Tom and Levi. In the end, he would have been hoping for the Delta times in front just to be a little bit worse off than his, and therefore he could have gained more positions. But he is ingrained now in that DRS train. Crispy as well was saying mediums won't go to the end. Why did they pit? They can go to the end, and this is the real threat now in this race. If there's another safety car, they're going to go 2-stop. If not, they can make it to the end of the race. These guys are professionals at the end of the day. They know, I think, better than we do in the commentary box what their tyre wear is going to be. But in terms of averages around on the tyre wear, it's something like 5-6% a lap on a set of mediums. So if you talk about a set of mediums in that regard, it could be between potentially 5 laps later, 25 to 30%, and then 10 laps later, 55 to 60%. So that is what they're going to have to be running on. These guys are very good in terms of their tyre wear, and if they are very good in their tyre wear, I can see quite a lot of them getting to the end of the race.
Yeah, that's the thing. But again, if you're Rusty and you're having to push every lap and you're feeling the pressure of Rowan, how are you going to be able to manage your tyres? And that's what I'm going to find quite interesting. How will Rowan approach this as well? Because will he be able to keep under pressure like he was earlier on, or will he try and sit back, manage the tyres, and try and make it to the end? That's a question which, you know, is yet to be answered by, you know, them, because we'll still have to wait to see how it all unfolds. But I'm predicting these guys will probably they might do a 2-stop rather than risk, you know, that puncher territory possibility. It makes sense for them to really just pit again. You know, if you're Rusty leading the championship, you don't want to take those kind of risks. Yeah,
definitely so, and I think it is going to be very interesting, as you mentioned, in terms of what everyone's strategy is going to be. Jack as well saying in the chat it depends on everyone's setups. Yeah, it does indeed depend on everyone's setups. But because they're on the safety car for 2 laps, that actually takes away a little bit of tyre wear. So they've got more to play with in terms of being aggressive on this tyre strategy towards the end of the race. We are still under the safety car, though, going on to lap 10 out of 22, so nearly at the halfway stage here in Belgium. Rusty leads the way, Rowan in 2nd, Wilson in 3rd, Smokey in 4th, Blackhawks 7th, 5th, Sinderi in 6th, Sav in 7th, McCabe, Sam in 8th, Tom in 9th, and Levi ran off the top 10, Muscada in 11th, Desso in 12th, Ferrari in 13th, Lars Kramer 14th, Nick 15th, Stunks in 16th, Marco's now 17th because Axe, and I was about to say, Fabi, who I thought was going to be one to watch out for at the end of the race, clearly not going to be enticed by my strategy call whatsoever. He's gone back under set of medium compounded size, which I think is defeating the object because, as you mentioned, if everyone was going 2-stop on that set of mediums, Fabi could have stayed out there in the set of hards, got them to the end, he could have been miles through the rest of the field.
Yeah, I was thinking that when Axe came into the pits, was that why, was he pitting for the hards? And I thought that would have been a really good call. But obviously he thinks better not to do that and go for the mediums and follow the rest of the crowd. Obviously towards the end, you know, those hards will be in big trouble. But if you think about it, if he looks after him, sticks to the field, maybe makes some inroads earlier on, you know, he might just be able to. Fabi and Axe could have had a really good race towards the end here. If people would start to puncture, their tyres could have been a lot better, and they could have got, you know, a surprise podium. But it's interesting to say the least. Markadov has now got a big task on his hands. Remember, you know, he was P4 before his spin, and now down in P17. Let's see how he'll be able to get his way back through the field, because he had some really good pace. We saw in qualifying it was great, and the race until that unfortunate spin, you know, he was looking very, very sharp. So I wonder how the Alpine will be able to cope in this race. Now under the safety car, obviously should be coming in at the end of this lap. Now the grid is all back up together, so let's keep a close eye on that Alpine.
Yeah, Marquez is certainly going to be one to watch out for, but further down the field, Lars Kramer as well, in the same team. He's there in 14th. All of these guys who have actually gone slightly fresher on their compounded tyres, are they going to make up that ground because they're so far down the field as Stonks and Nick have changed positions further down the field. However, though, safety car is coming in this lap, and now Rusty is the virtual Bert Malander. He's now the virtual safety car, and that means at the halfway stage, he will lead going on towards lap 11 out of 22, unless he spins, of course, underneath the this restart, which I'm hoping he doesn't. But Rusty, of course, now leading the pack, and Rowan there in second has got to be literally stuck to the rear wing, I've got to say, of that Haas. He doesn't want to put him into full sense, and Rowan, I think, is just going to sit back, maybe for a few laps, and then try to attack, then bring the attacks about him around lap 15, lap 16. That's how I think this is going to play out. Of course, if we get another safety car, a very early safety car, then defeats the object, and everyone might be coming in for a fresh compounded tyres. As Rusty's already gone, and Rowan has been caught absolutely napping even before we get to the bus stop chicane. Wilson now right on the back of him is into the bus stop chicane in third, but Rusty there leads the way with a fantastic restart. 0.8 of a second. Rowan has been caught absolutely sleepwalking his way through the final couple of corners, and Wilson now is all on the back of him in towards turn 1. So Smokey there in fourth, Black Box there in fifth. The side-by-side further down the field in towards the source. It's Nick and Lars Kramer who are going side-by-side, and Nick actually gets the job done through the inside of turn 1 at the source. And is he going to get the job done down the hill? They're going to run side-by-side, but Lars Kramer thinks better of it. Not going to go side-by-side there, my friend. And Nick there in 14th, Lars in 15th. They're going to remain in position. Everyone with a really good, clean restart. Rusty, though, already escaping by a second, and that is not the start that Rowan would have wanted.
I was wondering when Rusty was going to get, and he caught me out by surprise. He went so early, and now Lars gets to move back on Nick. Out of nowhere, what a move that is from the Alpine. Into turn 5 and 6, but now Nick isn't giving it up. Into turn 8 we go. Down this long right-hander. Bit of contact being made between the Alfa Romeo and the Alpine.
Oh,
That's
no.
Martin trying to go through. That was never going to work from Stonks, and he tried to take his opportunity, and he has left this session out of pure frustration there. What a end to his race that was. But what a restart that is from Rusty. He caught everybody out apart from Wilson, and now Rowan has got a lot of work to do if he's going to want to get into this DRS.
Yeah, definitely. So Stonks, by the way, got caught in the inside curve. Was a combination of Lars Kramer's literally rejoining track right in front of him from an outside line, literally rejoining in front of him, and then Stonks having half a front wing basically up the inside, getting caught on the curb. Therefore, the contact has been made, and therefore Stonks there down in 19th position. Such a shame. He was going to be, I'm sure, toward the top end of the field through this race, as the positions, of course, would have been made up. And speaking of positions, Tom, I thought, was going to go for an attack there on McCabe Sam into the left-hander of the bus stop chicane at turn number 19. Rusty, new fastest lap of the race, no surprise there, leads the way. From Rowan there in second, Wilson in third, Smokey there in fourth. Levi, though, with a 3-second penalty in behind. Current penalties, as Nick has gone through on all Ferrari. The AlphaTauri made to look like an absolute mug down in towards turn 1 there from Nick. He's into 13th. But everyone further down the field, in terms of the penalty situation, we've only got 2. We've got Levi and Axie on 3 seconds worth of penalties. And the former, Levi, ran on the back of Tom. Tom ran on the back of McCabe Sam. This could get quite interesting and quite dicey with Dessel and Skyler certainly running side by side in the back runner shot. Levi tries to risk it to the inside line, doesn't. Dessel tries to risk it around the outside of Skyler, doesn't. And then remain as they are in 9th and 10th. Or 11th and 12th even.
Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. Thought Desert was going to go for it, but it was never really going to work around the outside. Bit of mistake from McCabe Sam running wide, and then Tom really applying that pressure. Now the Alfa Romeo is feeling the pressure of the Williams right behind, and the Haas as well, really onto the back, but that costly 3-second time penalty. It's quite easy to do around here. A lot of these drivers go off wide at Puon, and there you go, Levi doing it again. So such a common area for drivers to get that penalty, or that warning, sorry. And yeah, it's not an easy thing to do to keep yourself clean around here. But now Sav as well and Sindri doing a good job in P6 and P7 respectively. Black Box as well, keeping close tabs onto the back of Smokey, who again, not letting Wilson get anywhere out of reach. But again, Rowan doing a terrific job now. He's managed to pull down that gap to Rusty around 2/10, but he's struggling with the ERS compared to Rusty.
Yeah, definitely so. Looking to the comments, by the way, we have got a fake Lewis Blakely account potentially in the chat, as Levi goes to move on Tom. In the meantime, if Lucas Blakely is actually watching and he's not fake, then please let us know in the comment section, but I'm pretty sure it is. Tom on the back of Levi had a bit of contact with the bus stop chicane there in 9th and 10th position, and Tom now on the back of Levi running in towards turn 1, remain there as they are. Of course, DRS has now enabled this lap around, so that means these guys, of course, can use up that DRS. Gives them an extra 20 mile an hour or 20 kilometers an hour extra, which is normally about 20 mile an hour extra as well. As Tom on the back of Levi actually got him outside of DRS range, but because Levi's got so much DRS, so much ERS, I should say, he is using that up down the straight, and he is going to get the job done. Still, for that 9th position, Tom there in 10th, they remain as they are. Sindari has picked up a 3-second penalty on the exit there, coming out of Mulmedy, that was, out of turn number 7. Sindari there in 6th. Still doing a good job. And you mentioned that Black Box, he's been very consistent so far this race. As I said, he won TML F1 last night, a race that I commentated on the PS platform. And Black Box was very quick there. He's done mock exams recently as well, so not every single focus has been on the F1 game. This is the old Black Box, though, that we all seen, which is really good. He's on the back of Smokey, and do you know what? I think he might actually go for Smokey sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. Once you're in this rhythm, once you're in this flow, you know, you just feel the confidence, and you're starting to see that from Black Box right now. He's just seeming to be hitting those apexes quite nicely, carrying the speed through each corner, and, you know, getting good exits, and he's applying that pressure to Smokey, and Smokey's certainly starting to feel that pressure as each lap progresses, and, you know, lap by lap, Black Box has been getting more confident on the back of the Mercedes. You know, using a bit more of the battery now. Smokey has been forced to react a little bit now. He was on 50%, now down to around 40 before that final chicane. So it's interesting to see, when will Black Box make this move? And if so, I think it will be soon. He just needs to force that mistake onto Smokey and then capitalise on any mistake that he doesn't make.
Yeah, definitely. So Wilson there on the back of Rowan as well, looking very, very close down the hill in towards the Rouge and Radion. Still, Rusty leading the way, and he's just beginning to try and eke out a little bit of distance now with Rowan. The golden 8/10 of a second is the slipstream gap. Rusty's got 24% more ERS there than Rowan as well. So Rowan's in a little bit of trouble here. He's just got to up his pace slightly just to stick with him. The DRS, luckily, he's going to remain in, but he doesn't want to get too complacent. He doesn't want to get too cocky with himself, because Rowan there in second has got pace. He just doesn't want to try and use that up too much, and he's got to keep at least one card close to his chest. Rusty, however, is trying to throw everything on the line. If he uses up that extra ERS, that extra nearly 30% now that he's actually got to Rowan, he needs to try and use that up to try and break him outside of a second. And so far, Rusty is doing that perfectly. Rowan there in second now, through this middle sector, seems to be Rowan's strong point, and he gains once again, coming through the middle sector, as Nick and Desso, I think, are side-by-side. Speaking of side-by-side as well, Marquez and Ferrari were side-by-side as well, coming to the left-hand of Puon. In the end, backed off there by Marquez, Ferrari in 15th, Marquez there currently in 16th. Antra coming a little bit early on as well. We've had a fake Lucas Blakely potentially in the chat. We've also had, apparently, Joe Biden shooting down a UFO. There you are.
Crazy moments in this world happening all the time. But yeah, Rusty is doing a great job in the lead, 54% on the battery compared to Rowan's 40. So Rowan's managed to get some of that ERS back. I think he has been trying to save some of that battery. Now after going down to around 20%, I say that he starts to use it once again. So obviously these guys are thinking opposite to me here tonight in terms of what they're doing in terms of strategy-wise as well. Let's see if we see any, you know, tyre management start to come into play as well, because it's lap 15 or 22. Could they make it to the end? I wonder what kind of tyre wear situation we're starting to see from some of these drivers, because we're getting towards the end here, and I wonder who will be able to make it on these mediums.
Yeah, definitely. So Nick, by the way, was very aggressive coming out of turn number 1. Not as aggressive as Marcos going for the move. And do you know what? Axie is going to make this 3 wide. Maybe parting in the Red Sea moment down in towards the Camel, straight down in towards Lake Com. In the end, he's got 1. He's not going to get 2. He's just going to follow Marcos through. But that is nice there. Ferrari has lost 2 positions for the price of 1. You buy 1, you get 1. 3 and Marcos is through. And he's into 15th. Axie there follows him through and he's into 16th. And Ferrari there down in 17th with Fabi, who was top PS person coming into tonight as well. I think Axie has actually made a bit of contact there with Ferrari's rear end just before when the camera cut away coming through Bruxelles, and Fabi all of a sudden, who was top of the PS guys in the standings coming into tonight, he is having an absolute dreadful race down in 18th, being caught up in collisions, and now he's got to try and make haste up the field. Whether or not he will do that remains to be seen. Back to your question, though, about the, obviously, will everyone make it to the end on that set of mediums? Yes, I definitely think they will make it to the set of mediums. They seem to, obviously, lose that little bit of tyre wear underneath the safety car, so therefore, that bit of tyre wear is being used up. Exactly, to Rusty's point, 8.5 tenths in the lead of the race. He's now trying to gap Roland once again outside of a second, and do you know what? In 2 laps' time, come back to me, because I think he will do that in 2 laps' time.
Yeah, I think he will as well. Nick again now making a move on Dezo. He's been making moves left, right and centre as Alfa Romeo. He's been the only driver who has been able to make some inroads on his competitors around him, but at a cost. He's now lost the DRS and he's made a huge mistake into turn 1. Oh no, it's a bit of lag, bit of desync there from the Alfa Romeo. That would have definitely off-put both Lars and Dezo behind him. As he got into the DRS, I think he has. The Alfa Romeo has managed to claw back that time, and the young German driver has just done about enough to get in his DRS off his PSR colleague of the Aston Martin. Now Sav and Sindri are fighting it out, and Sindri trying to go around the outside. What a move that is from Sav. He gets past the AlphaTauri, who is seeming to be struggling with their battery as well. He was trying to hold on, but Sav thought better off it, and he's made that move. But now, crucially, he's got to close in on Black Box.
Yeah, great stuff from Sav. Got the job done. Pretty much overspeed central down in towards Lake Home. Got the job done. Dooney's into 6th position, and now people in the comments saying push now, push now. Do you know what? He's actually heeded that advice. 1.1 seconds, 33% of ERS, and he looks at us all of a sudden like he's just been shot out of a cannon into this race, and is coming so quickly on the back of Black Box. Black Box might not know what's hit him, and hopefully he'll be not ending up with a Black Box at this in this race on lap 16 out of 22. Black Box there in 5th, Sav there in 6th doing a fantastic job, and Sav now is back within that DRS train, and that is absolutely crucial. And in fact, actually, he dragged the whole field along with him as well. There's the yellow flag, and that's Lars Kramer out of Stavolo, who was spun coming out of turn 15, and that is a 3-second penalty as well for reversing and picking up 3 seconds worth of penalties for multiple warnings, which I don't really get how he was reversing, but he has got the car back going again. I think he's kept it out the wall, but however, Lars Kramer's chance regardless is now gone as Rowan all of a sudden. Do you know how you said come back to me in about... Oh, I said come back to me in 2 laps. I don't think he's going to get the 1 second now.
I think he must have heard you, and he's decided to turn up the heat and apply that push once against the Rusty. Maybe he was in that tyre management phase which I was talking about, trying to save some of that tyres, make it to the end, whereas Rusty has been pushing. You know, he's down to 40%. They're on the exact same once again, is Rowan and Rusty. So it's literally flashbacks to the start of this race.
Oh, 3 wide! 3 wide in the background. Sorry to call you off, Scott. That tries to go all the way around the outside. There's contact between the Haas and the Aston Martin. Lars Kramer retires in the pit lane. And my God almighty, Sky the Needy collects Tom on rejoining entry. That was all spawning from, I think, Levi trying to get the job done on Skyler, or Skyler trying to get the job done on Levi. Tom in the end has managed to get through on them both, and now as soon as he's into P9. Absolutely remarkable stuff. Scenes in Belgium that I've never seen for a while. Almost 3 wide down the straight. Sorry to cut you off, Ryan, but Tom's doing he's into 9.
Yeah, and now Nick as well. He's got past Levi. Levi's made a mistake into Poon. Oh, he's gone from 0 to 0 so quickly there. The Haas driver now down into P17, and it's all gone all wrong for him. And Nick could be still somehow on for a points finish after that, you know, incident on the first few laps. You know, he's turning it around as the Alfa Romeo. You know, he's still got a bit of internet connection issues, but he'll be taking this result with the Alfa Romeo after that poor qualifying and this race which hasn't really gone his way. He's managing to recover well, and so is Cypher, but Tom, crucially, is nearly pulled away out of the DRS to Kai at this moment in time in P10. The Williams has got a bit of a challenge on his own. He's got to somehow keep hold of McCabe Sam, who again, as well, is nearly going to fall out of DRS range to Cindery.
And speaking of changes afoot, Rowan right on the back of Rusty. This is now game-changing for the race. Lead from Rowan, and he's now going to attack Rusty quite easily down the Camel Straight. He calls the outside line. Rusty's like, come on through. Rowan's through, and he's into the lead of the race, down the straight, down the Camel Straight, and Rusty there in second is now done, as Levi, I think, was retired into the pit lane after that mistake. Disappointing from Levi's perspective in the Haas, but his Haas teammate's just been overtaken for the race lead, and now Rowan, is the feedback getting back to him? Is he listening to me in the comment section? And now is he going to try and gap Rusty outside of a second? That is the next step on Rowan's hit list. Try and gap him outside of a second. Through this middle sector, he absolutely excelled. And it's now 5.5 tenths of a second. Gap is increasing. He's got much better straight line speed. This is all in Rowan's favour for now. And now again, pulls out another tenth of a second coming out of P1. So Rusty, all of a sudden, from looking like trying to be very consolidated and very complacent in terms of letting them go, is now on the back foot.
Yeah, Rowan's looking really confident, but it's quite interesting to see. Yeah, Ferrari is gone out on the exit P1. Is it a safety car? It's a VSC. Oh, that would have been very interesting. I wonder if we'll see anyone pit now. Could that be a possibility? Because, you know, people are saying these drivers won't be able to make it to the end. Will they risk it? The likes of Rowan and Rusty, will they decide to pit, save that opportunity of, take the risk of not getting a puncher, sorry. That'll remains to be answered. Rowan stays out. Does Rusty go in? No. Everybody's seeming to stay out. Smart decision, in my opinion, from all of these drivers, because you do not want to, lose that track position around Spa, because once you do, it's very hard to get any places back.
Yeah, all 15 stay out on track as well, so nobody has actually decided to come in the pit lane. Very smart decision. Stonks, by the way, is an AI. Of course, after leaving a little bit earlier on, he's down to 16, so his AI might actually come into the pit lane. But Ferrari spun out of P1, unfortunately, got caught in the outside curve. I think was then rotated the car completely into the wall on the left-hand side. Pretty much similar to the Verline incident, if anybody saw that in free practice 1 in the Hyderabad E3. Not that anybody is going to be watching the Hyderabad E3 free practice 1, but very similar to that incident if you did see it, of course, on social media. And Stunts' AI has come in the pit lane. Everyone knows back underway once again. Rowan leads the way. Rusty in second, and Rowan, all of a sudden, 56% of ERS. Rusty's on 62, so he's got about 5% more at this stage, and he got a better restart as well. As Rusty, all of a sudden, is now on the back of Rowan and looking far from Rusty at this stage.
Yeah, it's through this middle sectors where Rowan's a bit more comfortable, a bit more confident compared to the Haas behind him. Because, Rusty's having to use a lot more of the battery on the exits compared to Rowan. And it's really interesting to see the lines as well, both of them taking. Wilson, though, on the other hand, he's looking very calculated. Keep a close eye on him. 80% on the battery. He's looking smart and he's looking relaxed. He's not using any of the battery compared to the drivers in front of him. And he could still be a factor into the race, as well as Smokey. Both drivers looking very comfortable, both the Red Bull and the Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely so. And Smokey on the back of Wilson's going to try and look to maybe make an attack out of the bus stop chicane down and towards turn 1. I think everyone is just keen to sit in. How are we on lap 20? I do not know, but we are. Rowan leads the way onto lap 20 out of 22. Rowan from Rusty in second. Wilson there in third. Smokey there in fourth. Blackbox there in fifth. And that's where the real break, I think, is going to come. Blackbox has been teetering on a second again, like it did in the first half of the race, and now all of a sudden Smokey is beginning to attack Wilson down the straight in towards in towards Rouge and Radion, now down in towards Lecom, and he might think about actually going for the move done on the Red Bulls. The Red Bull still stays in third, Smokey in fourth, and Smokey is not enticed by this battle. Somebody that is, though, is McCabe Sam, coming out of an absolute unlikely position to the outside line, gets the job done around the outside. Beautiful stuff on McCabe Sam. From 20th on the grid, he is up to 7th, and he has not been unlucky whatsoever in this race. He's been very lucky in terms of the lap 1 incident. However, though, all of this is on his own doing. McCabe Sam certainly one to watch out for this season.
Definitely, he's already my driver of the day after this performance. Unbelievable to get from 20th on the grid to 7th, and he's still looking to make some inroads on PSR7. If he had a little bit more on the battery, I'm sure he'd be able to close up to the back. Just Tom getting a 3-second time penalty, that's going to be costly for the Williams driver. But let's keep a close eye on this battle for the front. Rowan has nearly nearly broken Rusty out of DRS range. And there's a crash. Tom in sector 2. Big mistake, and oh my goodness me, that surely has to be a virtual safety car, because that is in a very dangerous position. But by the looks of things, Codemasters is deciding it's going to be okay. So we're going to keep a close eye on these final 2 laps, because it is going to get very, very feisty.
Yeah, it's too late in the race for the safety car or VSC to come out, even though if it was in the first sector, I think it would have been a VSC or safety car. However, onto the penultimate lap of the race, Rowan leads the way. Sinderi, by the way, is in for pit lane, so I wonder if he's actually had a bit of knock-on contact with Tom, of course, having that spin. But Rowan there leads the way. As you mentioned, a second now the gap over Rusty, and now Rusty's beginning to come back at him, and he's having to use up a lot of battery. Somebody that isn't, though, is Wilson. He's dragged along this purely on pace, and now is beginning to come into this race all of a sudden. The PSR man in trouble. The other PSR man of Sav getting past on Blackbox, down the Camel straight, down in towards Lecom. Should be easy for the Red Bull man, and he's into fifth. Good stuff there by Sav. He has made his position absolutely timed to perfection in terms of his moves. Really good to watch. Very, very clean driving as well. Sav there in fifth, Blackbox there in sixth. McCabe Sam all of a sudden is caught completely flat-footed. He's down there in seventh as well. Sinderi though retiring in the pit lane. His car's still out on track. Rowan though leads the way. Rusty in second. Does this look like Rowan has got the race win sewn up in his back pocket? Because he's now 9/10 clear coming through Puon.
Definitely, I think this is Rowan's race to lose now, because he's looking so comfortable through this middle sector compared to Rusty, who's struggling onto the curbs as well. 9/10 is the gap. He's surely going to break the DRS off Rusty. There we go. 1 second is the gap. Surely now this is a guaranteed race win for Rowan, unless he makes some kind of fatal mistake. Nick getting a penalty as well, the Alfa Romeo, undoing all his hard work, but Rusty isn't giving it up just yet, because look at the straight line speed this has compared to the McLaren. He's brought it down by 3/10, so he's just back into the DRS again. But Wilson now is right onto the back of the Haas, so this is not over yet for this race win. Could we see an unsurprising win from the Red Bull?
Is Wilson going to go for the move down in towards turn 1 at the source? Not quite, but he is on the back there of Rusty. It looks like it's Rowan's to lose, and the McLaren is 9.5 tenths clear out of the source. He is job done. As long as he stays within the white lines, as long as he stays out of the curb, he's going to be winning the Belgian Grand Prix. But Smokey now all of a sudden coming on the back of Wilson. He's got a phenomenal run at them both, potentially down the Camel Straight. Is this going to be the parting of the Red Sea moment? Has to pull to the outside line. Might try and go for the up and under down the middle. In the end, waits. And in the end, Rusty loses 2 positions for the price of 1. His podium position has gone completely up in flames all of a sudden. His tyres, I think, are letting go. And Wilson now turns into second. Smokey there in third. Rusty there in fourth. Rowan again, though, now beginning to take cruise control. Coming through the right-hander of Bruxelles into the left-hander of X corner for the final time. We also saw, I think, a move further down. I think Marco's got through on Desso, if I'm not mistaken, for 10th and 11th. But Rowan now a second clear. As long as he stays within the white lines, Ryan, he's going to win as McCabe Sam is round.
He's not the race as well. What a mistake! I cursed him. I called him my driver of the day. We've both had commentator curse today. Oh my goodness me! What a drive for McCabe, and he's just done all his hard work on the final lap of this race. His luck has ran out, and what a time for it to run out indeed. He'll be kicking himself over that mistake. But let's keep a close eye to the front. Rowan has drove superbly from start to finish here. It's been a calculated race from the McLaren, and he's going to take a deserved win here at Spa, and what a performance it has been for the McLaren.
He comes through the final corner at the bus stop chicane. Rowan, the season 13 PS console champion, is season 14 Belgian Grand Prix winner. It's Rowan out on top. From Wilson there in second, Smokey there in third, Rusty in the end. His tyres let go on the final lap of the race. His tyres absolutely shot. The rears, I think, absolutely shredded to bits there in fourth. Blackbox drove well in there in fifth, and of course we'll get the full grid order in just a second. Luke definitely not happy with Sam McCabe there in the chat, that is for sure. I don't blame you, to be honest. And he still gets driver of the day award above in-game fans. I think that's purely on position gains, but he drove so well. He got too much on the outside curve at the exit of X corner, and in the end, one mistake is costly around Belgium. doesn't go unpunished, and for McCabe Sam doesn't go unpunished, even if it is lap 22 out of 22. So unfortunate for him. He drove such a phenomenal race, but another driver that drove such a phenomenal race to the top step of the podium is that man there, the Shazoo Rowan, for the first time since season 13, the champion, of course, of last season of PS Tier 1. He takes the race win in Belgium, and my oh my, it is good to see him back to the top step of the podium.
Yeah, it looked like a champion drive, didn't it? He was so calculated from start to finish. He knew what he needed to do, and you could tell he worked out where Rusty's weaknesses were through that middle sector, and he exploited that to his full potential. And he pulled away, and once he got it in front, you've got to say, he didn't look like he was going to slow down, because he just kept pulling away from Rusty, and that was a phenomenal drive from Rowan, and it was really impressive to watch.
It was really impressive towards. It was cold, it was calculated, but it was absolutely brilliant from Rowan. And that is him, literally, PSGL, PSF1 contender as well, going into the final race. In the end, lost that championship. In the end, though, is this retribution for Rowan? Is he coming back for that season 14 title? Rowan takes the win from Wilson in second, Smokey in third. Much better races from Wilson and Smokey's perspective as compared to Azerbaijan. Rusty there in fourth, picks up the fastest lap of the race as well by a tenth of a second, so he finished there in fourth. Blackbox there in fifth. He was pretty much underdog, I think, in those top five. Was right there or thereabouts at the end. Saab there in sixth, Mark Dawson seventh, Skyler there in eighth, last week's race winner. Deso there in ninth, and Fabi rounding off the top 10. With Nick in 11th, Axe in 12th, Stonks in 13th, McCabe Sam unfortunately unclassified in 14th, with Sundari, Tom, Ferrari, Levi, and the rest of the field. Lars Kramer included in that as well, right down at the back of the field. And that is the Belgian Grand Prix over and done with. I'm going to try and see if we can get the top three in for interviews, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it'd be great. What a race. From start to finish. I told you Wilson might be one to watch at the end, and he repaid my faith. Right at the end, he was able to just pull it back, and really calculated from him as well. And he could have maybe with one lap more, he might have just been able to take Rowan.
Yeah, definitely so. But again, Rowan looked really calculated in terms of his moves. He was going to gap a second. I'm absolutely certain of that out of the field in the end. And in the end, he did that on the final two laps, and it was very impressive to watch. Even though I would have personally gone a little bit sooner and probably cost my tyres right to the end of the race. Rowan knows what he's doing. It's a good job we're in the commentary box and he's doing it out on track. But he takes, of course, the top step of the podium, takes that race win, going, of course, out of Belgium. And looking ahead to the rest of the season as well, I think Gareth, of course, is back next week alongside yourself, Ryan. And for round 5, in the meantime, while we try and get the top 3 in, is Hungary, a track that is actually not really liked in terms of racing and league racing, certainly from a PS side. I've never really seen driving around Hungary, but Hungary is one of those tracks where the drivers, I think, will absolutely love in terms of overtaking, and it should provide some close racing as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's such a interesting track to race at, and you have to be even more calculated with the ERS at that track, because you don't really tend to gain anything back when the race continues. So it'll be interesting to see. The setups again will be dramatically different. I wonder, everybody will be going for that higher downforce around there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see around Hungary. I'm personally a massive fan of that track. I've had some good races around there. I find it's a really fun track. Once you get it hooked up and you get in that rhythm, it certainly can be such a fun track to drive around.
Yeah, it definitely can indeed, and Hungary is one of my personal favourites as well. And I hope, for the sake of all hopes, Portugal goes well as well, because that's my favourite track, and that's it, of course, round 6 of the championship. Before we interview Rowan, of course, we have got PS Tier 1 coming up, of course, or PC F1, I should say, not PSF1. PC F1, of course, coming up around Hungary on Sunday night as well. That should be very interesting. 7 p.m. UK time, of course, for that one, and that should be the likes of Ron Har and Uppbeat going at it again around the Hungaroring. However, though, we can speak to the man who, in the end, finished in P1 with a very cold and calculated performance, and of course is Mr. Shazoo Rowan. And Rowan, taking that race win, those final 2 laps, I've got to say, look absolutely like a doddle for you. Talk us through it, because it looked pretty easy.
Yeah, it was like Rusty was on low wings, so we had a pretty early safety car as well. I was already thinking, like, in the final few laps, he will struggle a lot. because I saw that in PSGL as well with guys who had low front wing of low wings. They were struggling at the end. So I was just waiting and waiting for when the tires will drop, and I saw it when he was exiting out of the last corner or braking in the last corner, and then I made my move, and I had more wings, so I could drive away in sector 2. So yeah, the last 2 laps were pretty easy for me.
Yeah, final 2 laps was certainly pretty easy from your perspective. And you mentioned there about middle sector. Was the middle sector your strongest point out on track? Because I literally said in commentary, final couple of laps of the race, he looks awfully strong in that middle sector.
Yeah, sector 2 is my best sector for in this track. I love it around here to drive, and the sector 2 is really strong for me. So there is some good pace for me.
Yeah, and going back to the safety car as well before I hand over to Ryan for any questions. With that safety car as well coming out, were you threatened by any chance from McCabe, Sam, and everyone coming in the pit lane behind you? Because we were saying in the chat, we were honestly thinking that McCabe, Sam was going to be in the lead of the race. In the end, he came out in 8th position. So was that a worry to you, him coming in the pit lane and you having to obviously go an extra lap on that side of Hearts?
When the safety car came out, it was when we already were on the straight. So I was hoping not that the safety car will be in front of us. Then it were that was not good. But no, I didn't saw him pitting, so I didn't notice that he was driving already on the medium. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I think 30 seconds. 30 seconds earlier, I think you would have made the call to come in the pit lane. Definitely, and went onto that set of medium compound tires. It's just a shame that the code in the game didn't think otherwise, and Jensen is the one to blame, unfortunately, as a result of that as well. But Ryan, any questions?
Rowan, just take me through. You know, you were sat behind Rusty for a very long time. Was that always part of the strategy? And were you just trying to learn where he was weak as well throughout that race? It seemed to me that you were kind of just assessing where Rusty's weaknesses were, especially for that middle sector.
He was so fast on the straight. So in the early laps, when you got fresh tires, I can't overtake him. So I was just waiting, and I saw that I was pretty fast in the second sector. I was keeping up with him, and I was just waiting and waiting when the tires will drop, and then I wanted to have a little bit more ERS. So if I can overtake him, I can drive away or defend from him again the next lap on the straight. So yeah, that was my plan.
Yeah, great plan indeed. You got Hungary coming up next. How are you feeling heading into that one?
I don't know. I haven't done any races on that track in this game, so I'm not sure right at the moment. But we will see what happened. I will do my best, and we will see.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You are very welcome indeed. I do not believe we're going to hear from Smokey or Wilson for second or third in the race, but that was a phenomenal race in Belgium. I think we'll probably end it off there if that is all right. And yeah, it was a fantastic race, of course, in Belgium. Congratulations to Rowan, of course, on that race win. Absolutely bloodless in the end in the final 2 laps of the race. Very, very consistent. And he is one of the top guys on the PS platform, and he proved it there tonight, Ryan.
He did, and I was really impressed by that performance. You know, from start to finish, it just looked so calculated to me. And he was sort of listening to the advice which we were sort of saying in the chat. You were a little bit worried at one point that Rusty was going to drop him, but you know, Rowan was always, I think, just that one step ahead of Rusty in terms of that, you know, waiting and managing that tires. But yeah, it was a great performance once again from Rowan, and it was a great Belgian Grand Prix in the end. It did not disappoint.
It did not disappoint indeed. And of course, Rusty with that P4 still holds the championship lead as well. Skyver, I'm sure, is going to lose that second position as well in terms of the drivers' standings. And of course, they will be released. And you will see them, of course, next week when, of course, we go to Hungary for round number 5 of the championship of season 14 of the console tiers, of course, for PS, Xbox, F1, we could call it that as well. Tier 1 of console, we can call it that for sure. But I've been absolutely honoured to deliver you the action, of course, out on track. My second time being here. I'm praying that it's not going to be my last. However, these guys, Gareth and Ryan, know what they're doing, so I'm sure it's going to be business as normal next week. But Ryan, fantastic to have you alongside me in the commentary box. First time, I hope, of many, and first time, of course, that I again once, of course, get into the Xbox side of things as well. So fantastic to hear your thoughts about the race. And in the end, Belgian Grand Prix, not really many crashes or anything. Perfect racing, and hopefully that sets out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely so, and great to commentate with you as well. I found it was absolutely brilliant. The race did not disappoint, James, and yeah, excited for the next one at Hungary. It hopefully will not disappoint. You know, the races tend to be a bit of a DRS train, but again, a bit like Belgium, there's unpredictability with the rain. So I wonder if it'll be a dramatic one and an entertaining one. Hopefully for the drivers it will be, and for us in the comms box it will. And yeah, I'm looking forward to next week at Hungary.
Yeah, Hungary is always a good track. You normally see maybe a couple of safety cars, maybe a couple of VSEs around there, but trust me, the racing, once it gets going, it is absolutely brilliant around there, and hopefully I can throw some of my PS magic over to you two next week as well, and hopefully we'll see the likes of the PS guys, of Rowan and of Tom, of course, coming back and bouncing back to his best. Of course, congratulations once again to Rowan on taking that race win. That will round us off very, very neatly for tonight's live stream, of course, for WOR Season 14 Console Tier 1. If you did enjoy the stream, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. Gareth and Ryan will, of course, see you next week. And, of course, PC F1 is on Sunday at 7 p.m. UK time if you do want to tune in for that. And big thank you for 9,000 subscribers as well on the channel, which we reached, I think, on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So big thank you to everyone for tuning in. You guys are what makes WR tick over. If you are interested, of course, in signing up, I think there are a couple of sign-up positions available. Don't trust me on that. It is Luke, the main man you want to speak to. Join the Discord and then, of course, have a look and seeing if the sign-ups are actually open. And if they are, you might just get a spot, of course, here in WR. And you might be the next Shazoo Rowan, who, of course, took the race win there in Belgium tonight. But I'm waffling on. I'm going to end it here. We'll thank, of course, our sponsors in due course, Next Level Racing and Grid Finder. A big thank you to them, of course, for being avid sponsors for WR moving forward. And you will see their adverts in just a second. So for myself and Ryan, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.